Here's what you missed in electronics this week.
Privacy versus security in the IoT. These words get thrown around a lot, but what's the difference?
There's an entire Linux operating system on
Okay.
board, vast number of subroutines to take care of things that even connection control, allowing remote reboots by SMS, you know, that you need a handler to deal with all that.
In new technologies that we have developed,
Yep.
and the idea is that we're extracting the level of coherence of light. It's different property of the light that allow us to get more insight about the depth and velocity.
So you see the boxes on the screen here? That's where my face would have been if I had actually sent the image data as well. So I get the result, but the images never leave the device at all.
This is one of the topic what you see that a lot of customers don't know exactly what they need to fulfill. What is the right EMC standard? What is the right regulation? Yeah.
Hey, it's Eamon with ipXchange. It's been another crazy week in electronics here. We've had a few different pieces, so probably the one which is most different is the thought piece I did on security versus privacy in the IoT. I thoroughly enjoyed this, but before we focus on each of them individually, we also posted about Robustel's visit to the office right in this very room, and lidwave at CES, which that changes the lidar game completely. I was pretty blown away by that. On Thursday, we had our third piece from Aleph at CES, talking about their stamp-sized app kit that they've developed in conjunction with Telit Centurion. And on Friday, we posted a chat with Jan from MPS to promote the new webinar series on EMC, but really, it was just a great chat about EMC in general and everything you need to think about before you take that design to an EMC chamber at an EMC testing facility like MPS's one, which is not just for MPS customers, it's for anyone. So, first of the week, security versus privacy in the IoT. Well, this wasn't too bad, wasn't it? This was the first of what I hope to be a monthly thought piece segment at ipXchange, and yeah, it's, hey, we're filming it.
Got my lunch.
We hope you enjoyed this one. Obviously, a lot of cool editing from Jake and Harry, but what I wanted to do is present some high-level topics, in this case, security versus privacy in the IoT, at a level that's kind of fun, engaging. It's not too focused on the technology itself, but it is focused on the principles of the technology. So in this instance, kind of highlighted this horror story about a smart home that's listening to you and advertising you stuff that you haven't really consented to being advertised to, which, funnily enough, we had a comment on basically exactly the same thing happening to one of our viewers, which is a bit strange because they highlighted that they were even speaking random extra words in foreign languages and it still advertised them products related to those non-English words. So strange, but the next time I'd quite like to focus on AI and the difference between various different things which people are calling AI, but the AI game has changed quite a lot in recent years, so what you might have called AI 10 years ago might not necessarily be the same as AI today. So look forward to that at the end of March. Can't believe we're already there yet. So for the next video of the week, we talked to Robustel. It was actually in this very office, one of two videos we did with them. This is Harry, by the way. He's eating his lunch, and I'm going to leave him to it. So the key benefit of Robustel's technology, if you didn't pick it up from the interview itself, is that if you're designing a 4G embedded router for cellular IoT applications, then if it's a relatively small project, let's say 10K units, it's going to be difficult to get some of those chipsets, like the Quectel chips that are on the Robustel board. But and be careful, Jake, you're walking backwards up a staircase. And we've already had someone go to hospital with a concussion coming down this. But essentially, when it comes to a Robustel solution, you're saving yourself a lot of design time, a lot of actual cost when it comes to development, whether it's a board or the software that goes into making that IoT router actually work as a solution, as well as the cloud. So yeah, that Robustel solution is very well thought out. You get the hardware, you get the cloud, you get the software, and that design is done for you. Those chips are sourced for you. You don't need to be breaking through cellular routers and tossing out the enclosures and putting those boards in. Robustel have done that for you. Okay, now for LidWave. This is a pretty mind-blowing technology. So we've all heard of lidar, and if you haven't heard of lidar, it's light detection and ranging, or I assume that because radar is radio detection and ranging. I might be misremembering that. But mostly with lidar, you're putting out these pixels of, or these pulses of light to create a pixel image of lots and lots of different light pulses, and it's taking the time from when the light is sent to when it is received back, and that gives you depth measurement. So this is useful for kind of like autonomous driving or just driving assistance systems. You see it a lot in automotive. But with the LidWave solution, they're not focused on the timing of the light. They're focused on the coherence of the light pulse that comes back. Without going into too much detail, because we could talk about that for hours. Maybe I couldn't, but I'm sure someone more qualified could. The change in the coherent properties of the light actually gives you the velocity information on every single pixel. So what you're getting is a 4D LiDAR image. You've got basically X and Y in terms of the solution putting out a grid of pixels. You've also got the depth, but then you've got the velocity on each pixel. And any physicists out there will know that if you've got velocity and distance, you can actually predict the position of pixels in a few seconds' time using the Suvat equations. So effectively, this LiDAR solution can predict the future. And I'm saying that with a pinch of salt, but this is a revolutionary technology. And what's even more crazy about it is that it's not a LiDAR system that's broken out into lots of parts. These detection and emitters are within the same chip. So this is a technology that any LiDAR person really needs to look at, especially if you're in automotive. It really changes the game for safety, because if you can see 3 seconds in the future, yeah, you tell me how many lives that could save. So, Thursday. This is unfortunately the third and final Aleph interview from CES, but Aleph Semiconductor, they're so much fun to talk to, but this device that they're talking about, the Vision app kit, is like stamp size. It's about this big, but it's I actually referred to it kind of in passing, not with the name of the component itself, but conceptually I referred to it within the privacy and security piece. And funnily enough, because these interviews were from CES, so I watched them quite a while back ago. This was part of the reason why I wrote that piece. So this device by Aleph in conjunction with Telit Centurion, it basically allows you to have like a video feed, but do all the AI processing on the chip itself, and then upload inferencing data to the cloud rather than the actual data. So, I mean, that sounds a little bit strange, but let me make it a bit simpler. So if you say you have an image of a face, that's an image of a face that shows someone. So that's not private information. But if you have an inference that just says this is Eamon's face, but it doesn't actually show my face, then that isn't private information. That's just information. So sorry, that isn't private data. That's just information. That's just saying what something is rather than giving what it is to the cloud. And the great thing about that is that if your cloud service is compromised because of poor security or something like that, or someone does a direct hardware tap to your device, or just gets into your IoT network in general, then they're not able to get at personal data. They are just getting at information. And I know you don't necessarily want people to get at information on your IoT network, but it's a lot better for them to get at that than actual pictures of you. And if, for example, it's an application where you really don't want to be seen, but you want something to be able to detect that you are there, then this is a great solution. And it can also work for kind of object detection, or something like taking pictures of number plates, but without actually transferring the number plates, without transferring the actual pictures of number plates, it just transfers what the number plate number is, if you see what I mean. It's a subtle argument, but a very, very good solution for increasing privacy in IoT devices. So check out that interview with Aleph Semiconductor. Well, we've got to do one with him again at some point.
Measurements and so on. So, and I think for
So yeah, the last thing that we posted this week in terms of the weekly regular electronics content was it's going to seem a little bit strange. It was mainly kind of to promote a webinar series by MPS, but what it really ended up being was this really fun chat with Jan from MPS, as Monolithic Power Systems, about EMC in power designs. And the coolest thing about this is that what not many people know is that since 2021, MPS have had their own EMC testing lab that's separate from their sales and components department. And that means that you don't have to be an MPS user or customer to use these facilities. So yeah, EMC testing is a very important part of electronics design for certification and for just getting stuff to work nicely. And yeah, the chat that I had with Jan was just really fun, deep dive into effectively kind of electromagnetic noise, how to prevent it, what electromagnetic noise kind of does to your system, and what you have to think about in terms of design, particularly at the kind of PCB layout level, to prevent this. But more importantly, because MPS has this facility and they'd like more people to use it, we kind of discuss what you need to think about when you've got a design and you want to have it EMC tested at MPS's facility. So it's kind of like all these things that you've got to think about beforehand, so you make the most of your time there. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that chat with Jan, and yeah, sign up to the MPS webinar series, because we could all stand to learn a bit more about EMC, and I'm really glad that I got the time to have the chat with him. It's very impromptu, and yeah, these types of chats are the ones that I love to do. So if you've got a topic that you want to talk about, come talk to ipXchange, get me on a call. It'll be really fun to chat more about technology. And that has been the week in electronics at ipXchange. I'm Eamon Standing. I highly recommend clicking on the links below to watch any of those interviews. And if you liked the way we've edited this, let us know so we can do it more often, because we're constantly trying to figure out how to better edit our videos. Keep designing, have a great weekend.
Hey, yo, where my engineers at?